I would hope so.
if that's what they say they need.
Busy today than expected with the announcement and the trip to Bisbee, or the trip to Dotes. Yeah, it's today. You missed a good chicken.
I thought you would say good presentation.
No, actually, it was good information that was shared. It was a good event.
Did anybody miss it?
Chuck, me, and Alicia.
Make it what?
Good evening, everyone. I'll call to order the regular city council meeting for the city of Sierra Vista for August 9th, 2018. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Rick Mueller.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Alicia Ash.
Present.
Councilmember Bob Blanchard. Councilmember Gwen Calhoun.
Present.
Councilmember Rachel Gray.
Present.
Councilmember Craig Mount.
Here.
Councilmember Christine Wolf. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. We'll now move on to the invocation led tonight by Chaplain Ray Bingham from the Canyon Vista Medical Center and followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Gray. Will you please rise?
Our God and Father, we thank you that we have the opportunity to participate in our government. We have the opportunity to share our views and listen to others with other views. And we ask for your wisdom tonight as this council makes decisions. Lord, we pray for those who are being appointed, Bill Bates and Joseph Hayes, to positions. Lord, we pray that you would give the council wisdom as they debate and decide on sidewalk easement and zoning map amendments on Americo and Redmond. Lord, we pray that you would use them as they talk about the property tax levy. Lord, we yield ourselves to you and ask, Lord, that as we approve the intergovernment agreement with the Southeastern Arizona Government's Organization for Civil Engineering Services and accept an intergovernmental agreement with ADOT for signal control phase, that you would be present, that you would be guiding us, that you would be teaching us all you would have us to know. Lord, make us your servants tonight to serve this community as we give you praise and honor and glory forevermore through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Ray. Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Mrs. Gray, the next item is the acceptance of the agenda. Mr. Mount.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the agenda for the regular city council meeting of August 9th, 2018 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll next move on to awards and presentations. And I have the privilege of standing in for Bob Blanchard, and I'd like to ask the representatives from the Richardson Motor Company to meet me right out front. We're going to do exactly what Chaplain Ray did. We're going to turn around and face the people, face the camera so the people can see how good looking you are at home. And did you want anybody else to come up?
Well, I asked my mom, but she's...
Mom, come on.
Oh, Mom.
Don't be shy.
She's going to kill him.
Yeah, I'm going to read a statement that was written for Bob Blanchard, so if it sounds a little funny, remember it's supposed to be Bob reading this, not me, okay? 14 years ago, Bobby Richardson had a dream to build a car dealership in Sierra Vista. The vision led him to open a vintage car dealership on Carmichael Avenue with his son, Bob Richardson. In 2008, the family moved there to a location at 2191 East Fry Boulevard next to the fire station after rebuilding the vacated Pizza Hut. So we appreciate your efforts in keeping the West End going there. Regrettably, Bobby passed away in 2014. Now Rob runs the business with the support of his brother Randall, his sister Rosalind, and his mom Leona. Today, Richardson Motor Company sells vintage sports, luxury, off-road, and recreational vehicles. They offer full service through sales, trade, and consignment vehicles for their customers. Their goal is to meet the demands of each and every customer and the needs of our community. In addition, they want to make car buying here locally the best experience their customers have ever had. The Richardson Motor Company wants to thank the community for their support for the last 14 years. Serving as an example of a family presence is serving as the example of family perseverance in challenging economic times. It is appropriate that their community support is recognized. Based on this, Bob Blanchard would like to recognize Richardson Motor Company and the Richardson family as the Sierra Business of the Month for August 2018. And we have a little hardware for you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
You get the opportunity to share with us if you'd like.
I just wanted to say thanks to the community and all the support they've given us, and my family for supporting me. And it's been a fun time, and I look forward to many more years. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you could make it up.
Thank you, sir.
Will next be followed by the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of the council. Reminder that the regular work session of August 21st and the regular meeting of August 23rd have been canceled due to the council's attendance at the annual Arizona League of Cities and Towns Conference. That means our next regularly scheduled work session is scheduled for September 11th here at 3 p.m. And then the next regular meeting will be on Thursday, September 13th at 5 p.m., also here in the council chambers. A few projects tonight, as probably most of you are aware, but maybe the rest of the community may not be. The Arizona Supreme Court decided the case commonly referred to around here as the tribute lawsuit, where a suit was brought against Arizona Department of Water Resources and Pueblo del Sol Water Company with regards to water adequacy by the Center for Biological Diversity, a local resident, and the Bureau of Land Management. That decision was 4-3 in favor of ADWR and Pueblo del Sol, which means that the projects that have long been held up by this long-standing case can now move forward, and obviously that is tremendous news for the community and the future of the community. The Charleston Road Wall Project is currently out to bid with bid opening scheduled for August 24th. The Airport Architectural and Engineering Professional Services contracts, we received 2 statements of qualifications for those, and they're currently under review. And then the Airport Planning Professional Services statement of qualifications period closed on August 2nd, and we received a few of those, and those are also under review. And then finally, the invitation for bids for the Kings Court property. We did not receive any bids for those, so we will proceed with working with Realtor to get that on the market. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor Mueller.
Thank you, Mr. Patuchik. Any questions for Mr. Patuchik on his report? Okay, we'll move on then. Item number 2 is a consent agenda. Ms. Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the consent agenda consisting of the City Council meeting minutes of July 26, 2018, Resolution 2018-058, appointment of Bill Bates to the Library Advisory Commission, said term to expire December 31st, 2018, Resolution 2018-059, appointment of Joseph Hayes to the Parks and Recreation Commission, said term to expire December 31st, 2020, and Resolution 2018-060, acceptance of a sidewalk easement at 555 South Highway 92 be approved.
It's been moved in a second. I noticed Mr. Bates is here. Is Mr. Hayes here as well? Okay, great. Well, we appreciate you guys being here. And as soon as we vote, I'll say congratulations. Any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious why Mr. Bates' term would only last to the end of the year, this year. Is he filling a term of someone else, or or is that a typo?
I think it's.
Don't know that answer, but that would be my inference.
That's the.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's the extension. He's filling out the. We're doing it on an annual basis now.
And that's the extension?
That will get him extended to the end of the year.
I see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, and congratulations, gentlemen. Appreciate your volunteering to help the city. The next item is a public hearing item. Item number 3. Yeah, I got a light print on my form here, so I'm having trouble reading it. May we have a motion, please, Ms. Calhoun?
Mr. Mayor, I move that ordinance 2018-008, zoning map amendment for limited commercial to general commercial at 2011 East Fry Boulevard be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Pregler, may we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. The applicant, Americo Real Estate Company, is seeking to rezone 12-acre property from limited commercial to general commercial. The property is located on the northwest corner of Fry Boulevard and Coronado Drive, as is seen on the map above. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the site as a U-Haul, which will include self-storage facilities with both indoor climate-controlled units and outdoor units for lease, a vehicle rental establishment, and ancillary sales of packing supplies. The current zoning on the property, limited commercial, would prohibit the rental of the vehicles, and the controlled, self-storage facilities would not be would only be permitted by a conditional use permit. The proposed zoning of general commercial would permit both of these uses, hence the purpose of the request. And now, during the public notification process, the city received public comments concerning the rezoning relating to perceived noise impacts from U-Haul and a concern about the effects of additional general commercial uses on the neighboring residences. In response to these concerns, a development agreement will be processed in conjunction with the rezoning. The first condition of the agreement requires deliveries along the front and side of the building, while rear deliveries will be prohibited. And if you look at the site plan, I believe this is in your packets, the area in yellow is the rear of the building, and it's indicating that that's where the deliveries will be prohibited. They'll only be allowed again on the rear and the sides of the building. The second condition prohibits specific general commercial permitted uses on the property that may have an impact on the residences, such as adult uses, medical marijuana facilities, kennels, outdoor recreational facilities, vehicle repair, construction material establishments, impound yards, industrial workshops and services, light manufacturing, community service uses, and heavy utility services. Now, a required neighborhood meeting took place on May 23, 2018 at the proposed rezoning location. All property owners within 500 feet were notified of the meeting. The applicant provided a summary of the public comments, which has been attached to your packets. In addition, the city provided notice of the public hearings 15 days prior to the meetings by posting the property, publishing a public notice in the newspaper, and mailing notices to all property owners within 500 feet. The city received 5 public comments relating to the rezoning. 4 comments discussed noise impacts, aesthetic concerns, whether U-Haul is an appropriate use for the area, and the effect of permitted GC uses on neighboring residences, as previously stated. 1 comment was in support of the rezoning, and these comments are also attached. The requested rezoning was heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 17, 2018. There were 4 members of the public that spoke at the meeting. 2 spoke in support and 2 spoke in opposition. Some of those concerns of those in opposition included the public notification process, the compatibility of the uses, the limited number of jobs U-Haul will create, safety and security issues, impacts of future uses of the property, aesthetics, and generally that U-Haul would lower the property values on the neighboring residential properties. The commission did unanimously approve the rezoning request. I would like to introduce Billy Longenbaugh, who is representing U-Haul in the audience tonight. I'll be happy to make any comments or answer any questions you may have of him. And this does conclude staff's report.
Thank you, Jeff. Do you have a presentation for us, sir? Or
I don't. I just have our project summary. I don't know if it's included in your packet.
yes, we have it.
Okay. So I'd like to answer any questions that anybody
Okay.
has.
Well, let me ask the council. We went through this on Wednesday. Do we have any questions either for Mr. Pregler or the applicant?
There was a question asked on Tuesday about the facade and what it would look like, which is over here on an easel.
Well, is there a question, or is that just a
Yes,
comment?
I'd like to see the
Okay.
easel with
Easel
the
for
facade.
okay,
of the
there you go.
building.
All right. Yeah.
Very attractive, yeah. Can
Could you walk it? Oh,
Just wait, Quinn.
this
Getting over here.
this way. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Just a couple questions probably for Mr. Pregler. With the change to the zoning definition, are there any other businesses right now that are currently planned to go into that area that would meet any of those other types of activities that you listed off, or is it just U-Haul?
Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Mount, I'm assuming you're referring to the uses within the development agreement that
Yes.
I listed? Okay. There are no proposed uses at this time that are proposed in that area.
Is there any space for anything to go in there besides U-Haul at this point, or do they have that whole plot?
It's my understanding that they have the entire building will be used for the self-storage facilities.
So residents don't have to worry about the whole other laundry list. This is strictly for U-Haul and what we were briefed on Wednesday, which didn't sound any more intrusive than Kmart would have been, and especially in the shipping. And as you said, the shipping's not going up there along the back wall.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to take this opportunity to thank U-Haul for their continued investment in our community, and also the property owners who came forward and gave some advice for the development agreement and the collaboration and compromise that went on there. Thank you to U-Haul and the property owners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, sir. Okay. Saying nothing else, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now go on to item number 4. Was it 4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ms. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2018-061, Development Agreement with Americo Real Estate Company, be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Pregler, staff report, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I don't have much to add from the last memo. This motion is a request to approve the development agreement. I did mention the 2 conditions in the agreement from the previous presentation. I don't have anything else to add, so this does conclude staff's report.
Any other questions for Mr. Pregler? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, and congratulations. We'll now move on to item number 5, and mine says Ms. Wolf, but that's, you gonna take that one?
Mr. Mayor, I move that Resolution 2018-062, request to proceed with Redmond annexation parcels 105-16-21E and 105-16-021F be approved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Who's going to give the staff report?
Mr. Mayor, I will. Good evening. Okay. The parcel is located on the northwest corner of East Little Lane and South Bowser Lane, just east of the Oakmont subdivision, as depicted on the map in front of you. This is a voluntary request by the owners Randy and Robin Redmond. They expressed voluntary interest in annexing to be able to receive city sanitation and recycling services. The property is part of a larger county enclave that was designated on our long-term annexation map as a proactive annexation area. Per our usual practice, we contacted the adjacent property owners to survey their interest and determined that there wasn't sufficient interest to proceed beyond the requester. At this step in the process, we are seeking council authorization to proceed with the filing of the blank petition with the county recorder and to proceed with the advertising of the required public hearing. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Questions for Mr. McLaughlin? All right, pretty straightforward. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. We now move to item number 6. Ms. Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that ordinance 2018-010, fiscal year 2018-2019 property tax levy be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Yarborough, may we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This action will complete the budget process for fiscal year 19. It will set the primary property tax levy rate at 11.36 cents per $100 of assessed value, meaning a person with a home valued at $100,000 would pay approximately $11.36. That levy will generate an $359,833 this fiscal year. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Questions for Ms. Yarborough? Sir.
Just for the record, we did not increase property taxes.
We did not, Mr. Mount.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one member of the public that would like to address us on this item, Mr. DiCarlo. You've been up here before, so you know you got 5 minutes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council members, taxpayers, and citizens of Sierra Vista, and the staff members from the city that are here today. I appreciate this opportunity to address you, and hopefully you're permitting the extension of my First Amendment rights of religious expression, speech, assembly, and petition the redress of grievances free of guile at this one and only city council meetings currently scheduled this month on this 9th day of August in the year of our Lord 2018. The patterns and trends of the department heads being absent from normally scheduled work sessions during budget season while being compensated at fair market value, emergent and emergency meetings being held, and the non-scheduling of meetings through cancellations during budget and election season deserve a tip of the hat to staff. Well played. However, being a military guy, there's almost a different salute I would put forward to the chair of this esteemed body. I rise today prior to your most likely unanimous rubber stamp approval of the property tax rate currently recommended by management. Prior to its ratification, I submit to you the following a suggestion and examples that might shed some light on the darkness and illustrate the true future benefits of its application. Since it has boastfully been stated by the manager on more than one occasion, it is an insignificant source of funding relative to the preponderance of sources of funding to include federally funded, either directly or indirectly, grants of financial privilege, and the sales and the privilege to sell taxes, no matter how they are labeled or relabeled. My suggestion to you is that you cut the property tax by 17.76%. You may be asking yourself how I arrived at that number, or perhaps it may be self-evident. Especially when it cuts the rate, when it cuts to the rate, should be closer to 32.2% and probably up to 34% based upon our population decline. This area, the metropolitan area, was ranked 33rd in shrinking metropolitan areas in the nation. I read it in the Cleveland.com. They were 4th. In 2016, we were 4th. So there is that. Why 17.76%? Well, it would help to curb some of the excess spending that occurs at the end of the federal fiscal year. Each year, Congress tallies up these grant numbers, and instead of debating, merely passes a continuing resolution, just like you will probably today, borrowing from the future, to pay for the past. Why 17.76%? Because the police department and civil servants are the true ambassadors of this city. For if you are the ambassador of the city of Sierra Vista, it may be self-evident to us just who you represent. You are elected by we the people to represent us by producing policy that is beneficial to all, not only those with means to create influence in the fiscal sense. I hope this general reminder permits you to review your job descriptions. Through my wisdom accumulated through this voyage through life, I present to you this following terrible tyrannical fact. Excessive spending at the end of the fiscal year always happens. It's a strategic play moved by the agencies within government to justify grants of request for sustainment and the inevitable request for future growth. It will eventually cost us more than $1,776 for the billable time, use of equipment, man hours invested, uniforms, vehicles, fuel, pensions, for the support credited to the Sierra Vista Police Department by the late Sherry Devers, former Assistant Sheriff Daniels. This not-for-profit musical docudrama is a cinematic masterpiece, a performance for the ages, whose true cost can be easily misinterpreted as achieving security through statism, or statism through security. Weapons hanging out of windows of a helicopter flying over us while using Department of Homeland Security grants and private donated vehicles is not what FEMA money was used for. This is not New Orleans, Louisiana. Sheriff Lamb in Pinal County was pretty much a class act. This is the safest place on the international border. I put this forward to exchange ideas with each of you and the good folks here present in this chamber and all the others who might view it later. For there's one thing that I do know. I do not know everything. But I do know that right now, a 17.76 decrease in property tax rate does inspire many trains of thought. And if you've been listening beyond merely hearing, you may be having some of those in your mind right now.
Mr. DiCarlo, your time has expired. I'd ask you to conclude, please.
Yes, sir. So that those things that you write down may be the agenda items of the future. And as far as this lip sync stuff with the police departments, I think this is a perfect opportunity for community development. Matt, you're a guy, you know everybody in town. Parks and Rec, you can hold a lot of people there. Economic development, it's got a good network. This could be something that we could use to show that we enforce to a community standard, not necessarily enforcing the law, as the other wonderful videos show. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. DiCarlo. And now we'll move on to the question at hand. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now move on to item number 7. Mr. Mount.
Mr. Mayor, I move that Resolution 2018-063, the approval of the intergovernmental agreement with the Southeastern Arizona Governments Organization for Civil Engineering Services be approved.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Flessard, may we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the Southeastern Arizona Governments Organization, or SEGO, approached the city several months ago to gauge the city's interest in participating in a new regional technical services center. The establishment of the center is a strategic initiative for SEGO and is in recognition of the fact that many communities in southern Arizona have limited technical staff available. This makes it difficult for them to pursue projects and grant opportunities where specialized technical knowledge is required. Specifically, SEGO was interested in incorporating the city staff of professional civil engineers and other support staff into the Regional Technical Services Center. Projects anticipated as part of this agreement would be small in scope, and the city would have the right of refusal if the project is either outside of staff's expertise or if conflicting priorities prevent the completion within a. If city staff accepts an assignment, the city will be compensated at the rate set forth in the agreement. The agreement is renewable on an annual basis and therefore can be revised or terminated as needed in the future. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mrs. Fassard. We'll start with Gwen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I missed this when we discussed it Tuesday. When it refers to the Regional Technical Services Center, is that an actual physical building?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Calhoun, outside of the physical buildings that SEGO already occupies, no, this isn't a new building of any variety. It's more built around professional expertise.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What does it take to terminate this contract or this agreement should we not find it beneficial?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Mount, it's renewable on an annual basis, so we could terminate at any point, you know, after the year. I'd have to go through the agreement and see if we could terminate at another time. I don't recall specifically.
One of the things that's interesting, though, is we're the ones that decide whether or not we're going to work on that specific project. So essentially, the agreement could be in place, and if we can't, for whatever reason, accept work within the year, we're essentially out nothing.
Correct. But yes, there is in Section 5 termination. Either party may terminate this agreement without cause upon providing 30 days written notice.
Okay. My only concern, I'm going to vote in favor of it, but my only concern is our ability to handle our end of it. My belief is that our staff is well-trained and has a full plate. They have work that they should be doing on behalf of the city, and that I don't know if we would have any flex room if everybody's at capacity and doing all that work, that we'd be able to help somebody else out. So my sincere hope is that we're at capacity and we can politely
decline.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Mount, in the event that we are not able to assist with this contract, another aspect of the Regional Technical Services Center is they have additional engineering on contract. So consulting engineering services, it's not like if we were to tell them no, that these projects wouldn't move forward. They would just have to contract with a consulting engineer to have that work done.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed at the same time that other contracts that this center might have with others, that we also have the opportunity to take advantage of those contracts. So some expertise we may not have.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Calhoun, that's correct. We currently have our own on-call contracts. So for work that we are not able to handle in-house, we have those contracts already. But through cooperative purchasing, we could piggyback on these contracts for other specialized services as well.
Thank you.
Anybody, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Fassar. We now move on to item number 8. Ms. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2018-064, accepting an intergovernmental agreement with ADOT for Adaptive Signal Control Phase 1 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Fassar, may we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this agenda item will approve an intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Arizona Department of Transportation for an adaptive signal control project. Adaptive signal control is a technology which allows signals to become fully responsive to traffic patterns. For example, the signal can detect when traffic is backing up in a particular direction and will automatically extend the green time to resolve the situation. Limited funding availability means the overall project needs to be completed in phases. Phase 1 would include initial hardware, software, and equipment setup, in addition to 4 traffic signals along Coronado and MLK. Future phases would be completed separately and would be based on available funding. However, the project scope can also be modified to add or delete signals based on available funding. This project is made possible by funding through the Federal Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP. No local match is required. However, since HSIP is a federal program, the City of Sierra Vista is not permitted to self-administer the project. ADOT must receive and administer the funding on behalf of the city, and the intergovernmental agreement establishes the terms of the city's agreement with ADOT. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm gonna jump in here because I thought of one thing, 'cause since we have one of our young firefighter heroes in the audience. We didn't mention about whether this system does interface with the ability of emergency vehicles to change lights as they go through.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, all city signals and ADOT signals in our area are equipped with.
They will meet that requirement?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you very much, Ms. Flasar. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We next move on to call the public. We have one member of the public that would like to address us on an issue. Mr. Obermeyer, sir. And I think it's been a while since you've been here to talk to us, so just talk into the mic, and we'll get.
I was here, Mr. Van Gilder was sitting up here somewhere.
I know it's been a while. I was probably sitting out there with you in that case, yeah.
The reason I'm here is because it's come to our attention here lately that China actually has an impact on little old Sierra Vista, and it sort of upset me to find that out. I was really happy when the blue bins first showed up, and I'm an enthusiastic supporter of that program. And you know, good old China has the ability to pretty much shut this program down. So what I did is I went online and I did a little bit of research. I'm no engineer, but I spent a lot of time online. And what came to my attention was a program. It's called Waste to Energy. And apparently throughout worldwide, there are somewhere around 1,000 of these plants operating, some small, some big. A few years ago, it was publicized that Sweden actually not only burns all of their trash, turns it into both heat and electricity, but they ran out of their own trash in the whole country. They're now importing trash from surrounding countries. I got a bunch of notes here. For obvious questions that always come to mind with this kind of stuff. Apparently, it's a green program. Apparently, some of these plants can be built where they are greener than the power plants we now use, more efficient. In my mind, a plant such as this would kill 2, if not 3 birds with one stone. It gets us out of the landfill business. It saves us money in that respect. For the green folks in our area, I'm led to believe, in my little research here, that 1 ton of trash being burnt reduces our greenhouse gases by 1 ton. On the face of it, that sounds kind of weird how that can happen. You'll have to do your own research, but I'm convinced of it. I looked a little bit more, and I actually thought that we have a perfect situation with the Apache Power Plant. We could, if we were to implement something like this, we could build a plant adjacent to the Apache Power Plant that gives us a couple of things. Access to the grid. No infrastructure required, or very little infrastructure required to access the grid. There's a railway line that goes there, and it's close to I-10. Not only could we burn our own trash, we could import trash from surrounding communities, counties, whatever, off of I-10 and burn their trash. These types of facilities, not only do they produce electricity, the heat we don't want, but the electricity we can use, but you can charge the tipping fees, maybe not $60 a ton. Some of these charge anywhere from 13 to 25% dollars per ton in tipping fees, and they make money. The next question is when I asked the question online at the City of Sierra Vista Facebook page, is, well, who's going to pay for this? You know, we always find money. There's always money for things. I was really proud of Sierra Vista when we did the recharge facility. We found money, we found the technology, and we're doing that. We're doing recharge projects all over throughout the county. So we're doing a lot of things, and I'm in my mind, this is a perfect opportunity for Sierra Vista, for Cochise County, to once again lead the way, find a way. So my purpose for coming here today is to raise the issue, hopefully raise some interest, and see if we can spend a couple of man hours researching, doing a little bit more in-depth research than what I've done here to see if it's feasible. And these things will go anywhere from 1 megawatt to 100 megawatt as far as producing electricity goes. So again, we're out of the trash business. Close the landfill. Don't need it no more. Recycling. These facilities extract. They do their own recycling. We don't need the blue can anymore. They take all the heavy metals out. They take the steel out. They take the aluminum out. Obviously, we can resell that. The ash that's produced, about 10% of the stuff you burn turns into ash. That ash can also be used in road construction, in other projects. So our landfill, you can just about close that thing down. It becomes a self-sustaining kind of an operation. I thank the mayor and the city council for your time, and I'll get out of your hair.
Thank you, Mr. Obermeyer. Rules prevent me from making comments right now, but if you hang, I'll make some comments at the end dealing with this issue. It's not something we haven't looked at before, but I'll mention it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Obermeyer. Comments and requests of council tonight. We start with Mr. Mount.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple notes. I won't be at the economic update that you guys are putting on next week. I'll be out of town up at Albuquerque at Kirtland Air Force Base, but I'm looking forward to at least hearing about it. And I know it's such a big part of what we try to do. And I'll kind of dovetail that into the discussions that took place on Tuesday and make sure that I'm much more clearer with my words, because I went back and watched the replay and I was, as usual, all over the place. Tony, you and your team have done an amazing job, and where we're at today is light years ahead of where we were at 4 years ago. And I appreciate it, and I know the hard work is there. I thank the council for helping champion some of that with, and I'll always go back to the metrics. In order for us to move forward, we have to know where we're at, and we have to be able to gauge that progress and show a return on investment. And for the community, the city did take on a big mission with saying that we're going to champion economic development to try to jumpstart our economy that has been lagging for 10 years. And we start to see the elements of that coming back into play with more development taking place, housing values going up. And I appreciate the staff's involvement. And I know that y'all are much more connected to what Colonel Boone's doing now with his team now. And I appreciate the efforts that y'all are doing, because it matters. He left. Did he leave? No, there he is. I'm sorry. Mr. Obermeyer, I don't think you and I have ever met, but I want to say thank you very much for bringing the idea to the council. I personally am intrigued by it, and I think it's something that we could look at. And technology always gets less expensive over time, so what we may have looked at 5-10 years ago as an alternative may be something that is plausible now, and I think all ideas should be shared. What I enjoy most about this position, because I've been there before, is sitting up there and doing a call to the public. Look, we're all residents. We all live here too. We're not ruling by edict. We were elected to represent. But the best way that we get your feedback is when people from the community bring up good solutions and alternatives for us to consider. And then we work with our good staff to figure out if it's even plausible. But it all starts with a good idea. So I thank you for your participation in that. And for others, if there are things that we're not doing up to your standards, that's bound to happen from time to time. What I'd ask is just consideration and patience. And sometimes the bite of sarcasm takes away from the overall argument that's probably being trying to make, although the points are valid. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mount. Ms. Gray.
Mr. Mayor, I just would like to say that I think it's been a very good day for Sierra Vista and actually for the whole state as well. The Supreme Court opinion that came down concerning water adequacy. So I'm looking forward to seeing where we go and hopefully breaking ground with Tribute very soon. So thank you.
Ms. Gray, Mrs. Calhoun.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to congratulate the two gentlemen who were will be on our commissions. We appreciate that kind of commitment too from the public to be involved in activities in the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Calhoun. Mayor Pro Tem Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to echo Councilmember Gray's comments and say how excited I was to see the opinion that came down, both excited and extremely nerve-wracking, but very pleased with the final result, and of course, will be patient as we see how things proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Ash. I too want to thank Mr. Obermeyer for coming up. And I'll share with you. I know you understand that we're in a countywide garbage system. A number of years ago, we had a I want to say Japanese company. I know it was Japanese technology, but I mean I think it was a Japanese company come and talk to Cochise County and the members of the consortium that run the garbage, and they proposed exactly what you're saying. It was very interesting. It's something that I think is doable. The challenge we're going to have is going back to the county. The reason it didn't go, what was 8 years ago, 9 years ago, Chuck, maybe 10 years ago, is because we had one member on the county supervisors that touted himself as a super environmentalist, and he wouldn't budge, and that basically killed the project. So I think it's worthwhile to go back and look as an option. And that's something that we need to, Mr. Petrucci, we need to discuss that with the county again, and see if that could be a viable option. But it essentially was a super incinerator, and they were even using the hot gases to kill all the toxic stuff in there. So it was really a very interesting, and it produced a power plant as well, as you said. So that's something we may want to look at for the long term. So thank you for bringing that back up, Kurt. Now going back to the things coming up, 13 August at Vinnie's is Tip a Cop, where the cops are raising money for Special Olympics. Everybody should have their reservations in already for the Spotlight Breakfast for the city on 7 o'clock, 14 August, out on Posts. 18 August, Hummingbird Triathlon at 6 in the morning at the swimming pool. So all you athletes out there, you don't want to miss that one. And one of the things I like about this time of year, the kids are in school, and we're starting charity season. And we have a number of charitable events that are happening around town. And I would encourage you to pick a charity, go out and do a dance thing, or Dine Under the Stars, or work with the Boys and Girls Club. They're great events, great opportunities to promote our local charities, our local groups. And that'll continue probably for the next couple of months. And I just mentioned a couple of them. But I encourage everybody to do that. That makes our community a great place to live. And with that, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Meeting's adjourned.